Hello, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. And today I have Greg here with me.
Hello?
And we were discussing oil and everything that's going on with the oil right now in the world. And so we just kind of both went off and looked some stuff up and thought we could discuss it a little bit.
We are not experts
No,
in any way.
no, not at all. Well, I feel like an expert having studied as hard as I did this morning.
Okay, you.
No, I'm not.
You're the expert.
Definitely not an expert. But I thought we could start with what the United States has for oil, which is our Strategic Petroleum Reserve.
Right.
And that is federally owned emergency oil stocks. And they are kept at basically, pretty much, actually, I looked it up because I was like, oh, they must have more on ships and stuff around. I mean, sometimes they keep some oil at like military bases. There could be a little bit on a ship offshore, but really, it is kept at 4 sites around the Gulf of Mexico.
Interesting.
Interesting. And we'll talk more about how that is done. But real quick, the sites are called, one is the Bryan Mound. And that is right near Freeport, Texas. So right in this area here. And here's the Gulf of Mexico, or some may call it
The Gulf.
the Gulf of America. You know, it's interesting. We take cruises sometimes. And when you are in Florida, on the maps, it says Gulf of America. But the minute you get out into open water, the maps switch
The Gulf,
to Gulf
of Mexico.
Anyway,
Right.
which is kind of like, okay.
Interesting. That's right.
Okay, and then there is a site called Big Hill. And Big Hill is also in Texas. It is sort of west of Beaumont, Texas. Somewhere in here. I don't really know where, but it's in this area somewhere. That's a pretty big area, but these things are huge.
So somewhere in there.
They're kind of big. And then there is one called West Hackberry. And this one is it's in Louisiana, in Cameron Parish, which seems to be right in here. So you can see they're all sort of in this area where ships can get into them, I guess. And then there's one called Bayou Choctaw. I assume named after the Choctaw Indian.
Sounds like it, probably, yeah.
And it is near Baton Rouge, also known as Baton Rouge in Detroit area. So that's kind of right up here. And there is a river that goes up here, so I guess they bring it up there
So
somehow.
let me ask you this. Are these the salt mines?
Yes, these are the salt mines.
All 4 of them are?
Yes, they're all 4 salt mines,
That's interesting.
as far as I know. I think.
I think so. I have an interesting thing to say about the salt mines.
Please.
You know,
Salt caverns.
okay, right, salt caverns.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we store all of our reserve oil.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like thinking, first off, I was picturing actual barrels of oil like in a big cave and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's not really.
No.
They're almost like, you could say they're man-made caverns.
Mm-hmm.
They were salt formations. And what they do is they pump fresh water into the ground, and the fresh water dissolves the salt, and then they pump it back out.
And it kind of seals itself. It's like self-sealing the salt.
Self-sealing,
Which
right.
is interesting because you know how I usually have that little salt lamp on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And the one time it got super humid and the thing just got like wet and melty.
Right.
And it went, first of all the salt fell down the sides of it. But it went from being rough and like you could almost chip it to like a very solid salt stone that was super smooth. I'm having to replace my salt lamp, you guys. guys. It's bumming me out. But anyway,
So-
and that's what I thought of when I read it. I was like, oh, interesting.
Right.
Okay.
They call the process solution mining.
Mm.
And they can actually control the size and the shape.
And they make them into domes.
Yeah. And of course they're like you said, self-sealing. And so you pump just oil into these things and it just holds them underground.
And they are about 2,000 to 4,000 feet under the ground.
Wow. It's pretty deep.
And that's really good because it protects them not only from, possible
Terrorist attacks?
right, but also from hurricanes and earthquakes, natural issues like that. So down here are these domes. Now I can't quite visualize the dome, but I assume something like this, right? Is that what you visualize? A salt dome.
I would. And you know what? You know why they make it probably a dome?
I have an idea.
Okay.
In fact, I think this probably is up here. I have an idea because I read about it.
Okay.
Do you want to say it?
Do I? What I think? I think.
Well, let me just say one thing.
Okay.
These things hold like millions of barrels of oil. And
Yes.
when you think about that, you might go, okay, so they have all these barrels stacked up in there.
Mm-hmm.
No, a barrel is a unit of measurement for oil. So a barrel is 42 gallons of oil.
A barrel is 42 gallons of oil.
So it would be like saying a pound, but it's a barrel.
Right. So it's just a unit of measurement.
A unit of measurement. So what they do is they pump the oil into this thing so it gets full of oil. And then when they need the oil, they pump water in, and the oil rises up on the water. So the water comes down here, and then the oil goes out by pressure.
Because oil
Is heavier, lighter.
lighter than water, so it floats.
And they also just don't mix.
Right.
Oil and water don't mix, Greg.
Right.
That's what they say.
They do not.
That's what they say. So I don't know if this is an accurate representation.
Well, what I was going to say
Yes.
is a dome is an architecturally
sound.
the extremely strong structure,
Right.
a shape. That's why you see arches in buildings and stuff, and domes are very strong. So
even with all the earth on it.
by making it a dome shape, it makes the ceiling and the roof extremely
Yes.
strong.
Yes.
Because of the ground above it, the weight is distributed and moved over to the sides. If you were to make a cave with a flat roof,
Right.
well, you have to hold the roof up with something. But a dome naturally has a strong... Think of an egg. An egg is round, and you try squeezing an egg. It's extremely hard.
It's because of the way the pressure hits the thing. Correct?
It's the way, right, and the pressure goes down. It moves the weight down.
This is a different episode about architecture. You've lost the thread, Greg.
I think I was just talking about why would they make it a dome shape. It's
So
it's for strength.
I just want to clarify that I have not seen any visual renditions, is that the word I'm looking for, of a salt dome. So I really don't know what it looks like underground at all. But I read about it, and this is what I pictured. So just please take this whole thing with a grain of salt. Give it a grain of salt.
Do you know why we use the term barrel and 42 gallons?
Do I know why?
Yeah, where did that come from?
Well, maybe the original, they'd put it in whiskey barrels, and that's what it held. I don't know. I'm making that up. I don't know. No, I don't know.
It goes back to the 1800s.
Oh, you know the answer. This was rhetorical. You just want to show off.
Show off.
Okay.
I have not.
Yeah.
It goes back to the 1800s when they actually kept oil in wooden barrels.
Okay.
And
Well, that sounds like a whiskey barrel.
well, it was an oil barrel,
Okay.
but a standard size just became 42 gallons, and the name just stuck.
Okay.
The name
It stunk.
stunk.
It's like hands for horses.
Stunk.
There's certain things that are
Right?
just, the way
Exactly.
they are. Okay. So the U.S., that's the United States, has 700 million barrels of oil in reserve.
That's the full capacity.
Oh, that's full capacity. Right. We're not at. No, I think that's now. That's full capacity.
I think
All
it
right.
might be slightly more than that, but it's about 700 million gallons. That's the full capacity.
And real quick, do the 42 gallons thing math. I didn't do it. I read it. That's 29.4 billion gallons.
Did you look up what the actual reserve is right now?
Well, that's what I thought this was, to be honest. Let me look. Hold on. I have a couple of notes here.
I think it's like 450 or something like that.
Ugly 9. I can't.
Currently. I don't remember the exact number, but the current reserve is like 400 and some million gallons. But this is the total capacity. So
Okay.
we're not at full.
Well, right now we're at like 60%
I was
capacity.
going to say 60%.
And part of that's because during the Ukrainian conflict, whatever, war,
Russia,
whatever you're calling
Russia,
it.
Ukrainian, right?
Is it a war or is it I don't remember.
It's a
But anyway,
war.
it's a war. Okay.
Yeah.
We've put some, what do you call them, on Russia.
Sanctions.
Sanctions on Russia to kind of hurt them, to like keep it so they can't ship as much oil. But when we did that, we released some oil, and during COVID, we released some. Is that right? And that's why we're at a 60%.
Yes. Biden released a lot, quite a bit. One of the biggest releases, and that was because specifically the Russia-Ukraine.
Okay. That's what I
War.
thought. All right. So all these numbers from my brain.
Because the supply was affected.
Was dumb affected?
Was affected.
Was dumb?
I didn't say that.
You did.
You're just hearing things.
All right. So because I don't understand numbers, like they don't mean much to me, the U.S., from what I read, uses 20 million barrels per day.
That's right.
All right.
20 million barrels a day is our consumption. That's every single day.
So after 35 days, we'd use up all our reserves if we use it for airline fuel, jet fuel. Does that sound correct?
Well, what's interesting is that
It'll last 1.5 to 2 months if we only use it for gas, for cars.
Well, oil is used for so many different things. It's amazing how much stuff is used from oil. It's turned into gasoline for cars, jet fuel. It's turned into diesel fuel.
Petroleum for plastics.
It's also used for plastics, right? It's used to make fertilizer,
Yeah.
chemicals.
So
and
this would
certain
only last
packaging.
this long if we keep using it for all those things, and that's if you're only using this,
Well,
which we're not.
you're saying that the U.S. uses 20 million barrels of oil a day.
That's right.
Now, we only produce about 12 to 13 million barrels a day.
Okay.
So
yeah.
that's what the U.S. produces.
13 million barrels. Right. So we couldn't.
So the rest of it we get from other
Other
countries and import it.
Right. Yeah.
Now, so if we've got 400 million barrels in reserve and we need to use that, there's a thing called a flow rate,
Yeah.
which is like how fast we can use it.
Kind of because of some of the things we talked about with just getting it out.
Well, the flow rate for the United States is like 4.4 million barrels a day.
Okay.
That's how fast we can take the reserve out.
Right.
And basically, it just takes time to pump it out, to process it,
Yeah.
and you only have so much equipment, and to use it. So it's not like you can pull 20, 30 million barrels out a day and start using it.
Right.
It's only like almost 4.5 million.
So the reserve, this reserve, isn't really meant to replace
No, not
fuel.
at all.
It is meant
It's
as
not
a
enough.
stopgap.
Right. It's to help with a supply issue.
Right. So it can buy like a little lifeline for a while. It's not a substitute.
Nope.
So, all right, let's maybe I have the big Alice here. Maybe we should talk about why this is even why we're. Well, actually, I have one other thing to say about oil that I was reading that I thought was interesting. Is the way they. Hold on, I'll erase this. And
Do you know how many millions of gallons of oil the entire world uses per day?
how many?
100 million.
That seems like a lot of oil.
It is. And you know how much oil the whole world sort of produces per day? 100 million. So it's kind of an equilibrium sort of thing.
Okay. I'm going back to my thing. All right.
Okay.
So this is the Earth's surface. So you have like maybe a rock area. You have maybe a sand area. I don't know. You have some water down here. And so they can get oil from different parts of the Earth's layers, the rock layer, the tar sand layer, the reservoirs. And depending on where they've pumped it out of, this is all called crude oil, right? I think that's right.
Yeah. Just raw oil coming out
And
of the ground.
depending on where they got it from, it will have different weight and different makeup, like different composition.
Interesting.
And it can only be used, not all oil can be used for all things.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, even though some places might have a lot of oil coming out, it can't all be used for gas, or it can't all be used for petroleum or jet fuel, whatever. Anyway,
Okay.
I just thought that was interesting. I don't know all the details of that. Something you could dive deeper on.
Do you know the Earth has been producing and making this oil? It takes millions and millions of years for the Earth to make this oil.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the Earth is constantly making oil, but it's such a long process. It takes millions of years. So oil is not really
Renewable.
it's not a renewable source of energy because we use it up a whole lot faster, way faster than the Earth is sort of producing it. But that being said, there's still a lot of oil in the ground.
Right. But one thing about this, different types of oil, because I was like, why, if we produce, like in Texas and Louisiana, Arkansas, all these areas, they produce or pump a lot of oil. And Alaska has oil too. And I was like, why are we getting oil from the Mideast? Like, why can't we just use our own oil? But part of it is because we import and export it because we have different type of oil, apparently. And because it's cheaper from the Mideast. So American oil costs more than us getting it from the Mideast. Kind of like buying products from China. You know what I mean? Like, so that's part of why we import and export our crude oil.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, I wanted to say that when we talk about oil, oil reserves, there's two different things. There's the oil reserves that are still in the ground, and then there's the Strategic Petroleum Reserves, which are oil that we've actually already gotten out of the ground and is in storage.
Right.
So the oil reserves is a thing called proven reserves, like oil that we actually know is in the ground that can be pumped out.
Okay.
And in the world, it's like like 1.5 trillion barrels
Okay.
of proven reserves. It's also probable reserves that they know they could probably get, and then there's possible reserves. But basically, the world, like I said, the world uses 100 million barrels per day, and if you went through the proven reserves, you're talking like 40 to 45 years of oil. Now, we're not going to run out of oil in 45 years
Right.
because we will find other sources of oil here and there. So,
Okay.
but if we use up the current proven reserves, it's like 45 years.
Well, I guess we should just real quick go into why we're like talking about this. I think most people know, but maybe not, that currently the U.S. is at war with Iran. And Iran is this country right here, and they kind of have control of the Strait of Hormuz. And somebody in the comments told me it's like booze, Hormuz. I was like, okay, Hormuz. Anyway, and they have put in mines in here to keep oil from going through the strait because they know that's a big pressure point.
They keep talking about that. Is there any proof of that yet?
Yeah. They actually, the U.S. showed that they like blew up some of them, but they think there's still like 6 more underwater or something. I was just reading a report about it this morning, and that was from United States or British intelligence or something.
Now, I could be totally wrong on this, but I was thinking, or I was reading something that the ships go through a channel in the strait.
Okay.
And that's probably where they put these mines. Mm-hmm. But some of the ships that Iran has let through have gone really close to the coast. Mm. So I think they've allowed them to go a slightly different
route.
They're
giving them a route, yeah.
Now, I think...
And they have let quite a few ships through, I think.
Well, I think, if I remember correctly, over the last 2 weeks, they've let like 80-some ships through.
Yeah.
But normally, like, 100 a day or 150 a day go through there? And this is not just oil ships. There's also cargo ships and other things like that, if I have that number correct.
Okay.
So it's quite a bit.
So this isn't just putting pressure on the United States. This puts pressure on all of Europe, like the whole world. It messes with the whole world.
The entire world, because oil is a global...
I mean, like Japan relies on the Mideast for 90%, 95% of their oil supply, I read. So like you're talking about Europe, you're talking about Asia, everybody's affected by this. And coming in here, they can't get like fresh food in here for people. It's a big deal.
So is this correct? The United States doesn't get any of their oil from this area. Is that correct? That's my understanding.
I did not think that. No, I don't know.
My understanding is we don't get any oil from here. Now, we get our own oil from our own places, and we import it from other countries.
But don't we get it from Saudi Arabia, which comes through here?
Well, it's also Saudi Arabia, out here in the Red Sea.
Well, I'm about to talk about that. But I think they go this way a lot of times.
I am pretty sure that the United States, this blockade here doesn't directly affect our oil supply. But the problem is it's affecting the world's supply.
Right.
And that affects the prices. And when the prices change, it
for
changes.
A barrel of oil.
It changes for everybody, including the U.S.
Okay. So is it, well, I should have looked this up because I don't know if you know, but a barrel of oil, you know how they say it's like 100, like I think today was $106 a barrel.
Right.
Is that set by the International Energy Agency, or is that set by, does the U.S. have a price of a barrel of oil and then international? You know what I'm saying?
I think the price is the same worldwide.
Worldwide, okay. So if this gets trouble that causes the price of a barrel of oil to go up internationally.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay. That's right. It's a global commodity, and the price is, just like anything else that's bought and sold, the price goes up and down. And it's not like different countries pay different prices for oil.
Right. Well, one thing I was reading about is Iraq and Saudi Arabia are, like you said, trying to go to the west through the Red Sea. Mm-hmm. And Iraq has been working on a pipeline that goes, I think, through Jordan out here. Mm-hmm. And they can't go up to the Mediterranean because of Syria has kind of blocked that. Here's Syria. So anyway, so they're trying to go out through the Red Sea. But the one problem with the Red Sea is when you come down here, you get down to this area. This is where the Houthi militia guys are. And they're pretty dangerous. And there's another group that's really dangerous down here. So it's like either way you go, you're dealing with trouble. Trouble. I don't know. We are definitely not international.
Well, here's the thing. When you have 20% of the world's oil supply, daily oil supply, going through this strait,
Right.
when you cut 20% of that
Yeah.
supply down, that is huge.
Yes.
So what's happening is all these ships are being backed up here, full of
Yes.
oil.
Right.
And
This
all
is the Persian Gulf. Here.
right, and all these oil producing areas up here,
Yeah.
they have storage tanks.
Right.
And they can only hold so much oil. So when the ships can't get through, all these supply areas around here, all the oil tanks, they get filled up.
Right.
So then what they do is they have to start cutting back on production.
Right.
They start slowing down production. And then part of the problem with that is that once the demand goes back up, once the war is over and you have traffic going through
It takes a while.
it takes a while to get production back up. You
Right.
can't just, zip it back up quickly.
Yeah.
So anyway, now you have a worldwide supply shortage of 20%,
Right.
which causes the price of oil to go up.
Which in turn
So it makes everything else go up.
makes the price of gas go up, the price of your airline tickets because jet fuel is more expensive.
When
Shipping
right.
becomes more expensive. So yeah, and plastics become more
Well, then
expensive.
once transportation costs go up,
Right.
that means the price of
Everything.
goods,
Yeah.
everything goes up. Food,
Right.
everything that you buy goes up.
Yeah.
And
And I didn't even know about the fertilizer. So if the price of those go up, then maybe your,
well,
produce too.
I actually read about the fertilizer. A lot of farmers in the U.S. are like, they get a lot of fertilizer from this
I had no
area.
idea. I had no idea.
And so they're having I don't know if it's a fertilizer, I guess, shortage or the price of fertilizer is going up.
Oh wow.
And that, they say, will affect their crops.
Right.
And so that's going to affect the food chain.
Right.
So it's a domino effect. It's everything is connected.
And somehow banking is involved in all this.
It's all connected.
I was listening to some report and they're like, well, banking will be all. I'm like, banking? But it's all connected, man.
Another thing is kind of interesting is that when they take oil out of the ground, you have to refine it and then you have to transport it. So there's a time. The refining of oil is actually pretty quickly. It's only like 1 to 3 days to take raw oil and turn it into fuel and jet fuel, like 1 to 3 days.
Okay.
However, to transport it for distribution, if it's domestic in the U.S., it's like 1 to 3 weeks. But if it's imported, it's 3 to 8 weeks. I mean, first off, think about this. A tanker going through
Right.
here and going to the U.S.,
Yeah.
I mean, that by itself, that tanker is going to take, well, it's not going to the U.S. Like I said, we don't get oil here, but it takes like 2 weeks or whatever to get somewhere.
I think a lot of this oil
They're slow moving.
goes to Japan, goes to, I guess, Europe. I don't know. I should have looked that up.
Well, when we're talking about
Should look that up.
barrels of oil
Yeah.
and tankers,
Are we done with this map for now?
sure.
I think so.
A large tanker
Yeah.
ship
Yeah.
holds about 2 million barrels of oil. And then a super tanker can hold 3 to 4 million barrels of oil.
All right.
So they're very big. And then just in comparison, like a big storage tank that's on the ground, they can hold like 500,000 up to 1 million barrels of oil.
Oh, wow.
So a super tanker is equivalent to 3 to 4 huge tanks on the ground.
All right.
And you're talking about where people store oil. We store our reserve oil in these salt caverns.
Right.
But other places store oil in tanks, above ground tanks, and they actually store them on ships.
Right. Yeah. Somehow I got into a thing about Japan. I don't know why I keep bringing them up, but I read a whole report on them, and they have theirs spread out, like you said, on some of them are on floating vessels. Some of now I forget, But anyway, they have them like in multiple different places.
Right.
And part of that's because of tsunamis, and then also protection of it. But they store a lot
They've diversified
because they
their
can't create it.
storage.
They can't make it. So they've been just kind of hoarding it.
They have to import it, right? And they want to protect it.
right.
So they have
Yes.
different methods
mean,
of
they pay
protecting it. That's good.
So in order to keep gas prices down right now, and to just try to keep the whole, world's markets more stable, there have been a few things done. Well, President Trump has released oil from our Strategic Petroleum Reserve.
Or said they're going to release
Or
it.
said they're going to release it.
And then there's at that flow rate, they can only release
Right.
4.5 million barrels a day at most.
But then there's also, I don't like this pen, but I don't see my other one. Anyway, there's also the International, it's called the IEA, and that is the International Energy Agency. And they are releasing 400 million barrels of oil from the international supply.
Right. And I don't know what their flow rate is, but
I don't know.
it's time.
And then the other things that President Trump is doing, he is doing some like sort of stopgap things where he is going to take away, did I already say this? On Russia. That's the word I'm looking for.
You did, the sanctions.
The sanctions on Russia to allow some more oil to come out of Russia. And he is possibly, or maybe already has, going to waive certain environmental protections on the processing of the oils and stuff so they can do it more quickly.
Just what the environment needs.
I know. But that would be I would say it would be a short-term measure, but who knows? I don't know what's written into it. I don't know, because if they take it away, it'll be hard to get it back.
And then, not to interrupt you, but when Russia makes more money off their oil, they have more money to fund their war against
well, that's
Ukraine.
The reason we have those measures in place.
Yeah.
And then there is also, just today, they said they are, what's the blonde gal who's our Levitt, Caroline Levitt. I heard her say they are taking away the Jones Act. Not taking it away, what do you call it? Doing a 60-day waiver of something called the Jones Act.
Pausing it or
a waiver.
A waiver.
A 60-day waiver. That's what she said.
Okay.
And that is goods shipped between U.S. ports have to be shipped on U.S.-made and owned ships. But they're going to change that so that ships from other places that I guess are bringing fuel can go between ports. I don't know. I'm sort of confused on how that would help anything.
I'm not
but she said
with
it
that,
could help. It's like old act on the books. So I'm not sure exactly. What else? There was something else they're doing. Anyway, I can't remember. But apparently today, according to AAA, the average price of gas in the U.S. is $3.84. And then, of course, like like it's never an even penny.
All right, 0.9999.
Why is gas price that way?
I've always asked that question.
Why
is...
It said like 3.842 or something. I'm like...
It's not.
Who prices
It's not $3.84 a gallon.
Yeah.
It's $3.83.999999 a gallon.
Yeah. Well, my tank needs filling right now, so I'll have to go check and see.
You could do a video on that.
On what? Oh, why gas is priced that way? Well, it has to do with the barrels. I actually looked it up one time. I don't remember.
Why is gasoline the only thing that we charge a tenth of a cent less?
All right.
Well, it's a visual. It's a visual thing. It's a mental thing.
Does this price sound right to you?
It's changing daily, but yeah.
I mean, I can't think. I don't look at gas prices very often, I guess. What is it where you guys are? In the comments, like, let us know.
As you know, gas prices, for some reason, I don't know the reason, but they're different prices across the U.S.
Yeah.
In California, gas is
Oh,
$5,
yeah.
$6 a gallon.
Yeah.
In other places, it's cheaper.
Oh, I know the other thing President Trump said he's going to do. He's going to ease sanctions on the Venezuelan oil to try to get more of that, because there's quite a bit of oil in Venezuela. The problem with that is, and what oil companies have said is, it's kind of a mess, and it's in this really rocky ground, and it's hard to get it out. It's not like Texas oil. I guess it's like a little harder. I don't know if I'm understanding that correctly, but it seems like it isn't like an overnight situation where you just start pulling oil out of Venezuela. It's like years long to try to get that going.
None of these things are take
Not
quickly.
that,
Yeah.
no.
And as a matter of fact, this whole current war and the fact that 20% of the world's oil supply is, being disrupted, and it's having a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And the longer it goes on, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
And not only that, the longer it'll take to go back to normal.
Right.
Because things don't just go back to normal quickly.
So the real goal, I think, for probably, I can't speak for the Trump administration, but I would think ending this quickly is probably a goal, because otherwise, the longer it goes on, the more sketchy
Well,
stuff.
we're going to have, global inflation.
Yeah.
And inflation in the U.S. is what it's going to have. And then, this is going to cause inflation, and COVID caused inflation too, but for different reasons. And the inflation with COVID it took a while for that to work its way through.
Yeah. Well, and we're people who lived through the 1970s when there was a energy and gas crisis
Right.
caused by stuff in the Middle East.
I don't know, but I do know that was when, right after that is when they made up this reserve, the Strategic
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Petroleum Reserve was like
Because of that?
Yes.
Okay.
1974 or somewhere in there, 75.
Yeah.
They came up with this reserve specifically because of that.
But I can remember you'd have to wait in line for gas. And it seems to me, maybe I'm wrong about this, that they'd ration how much gas you could get when you went to the pump. And I guess this is all connected, but I'm not sure, that it was during that time that in the classrooms, they'd turn off the lights in between,
We turned off half the lights.
Yeah.
I remember
And
that.
they had the stickers on the light switches that had like an owl, and it was like, turn off the lights. No, it wasn't an owl. Anyway, whatever. So the other thing I was looking up, though, because I was like, wait, does Cuba have a lot of oil or something? Like, or not oil, but like, why are we, because the U.S. has been strategically stopping any oil from getting to Cuba. And so now they have blackouts, like a long-term blackout. Also, food isn't getting in there and everything to Cuba. And I was like, what does that have to do with this? I don't think it does. So if you were wondering.
Oh, you don't know the answer?
No, I do know the answer. And it doesn't really have to do with anything to do with this. It has nothing to do with oil.
Okay.
It's more political. It's just because Cuba is so close to Miami, and a lot of people in Miami are from Cuba and care about Cuba, the U.S. is trying to gain more. Trump says he wants to take it over, I guess. He says he can do anything he wants with it. But even if they just got the politics changed there, I guess, that could be good for politics in Florida, which is an odd way of phrasing that. But basically, I don't think it has anything to do with, because I was like, why are there blackouts? But no, we're blocking their oil from coming in. The U.S.
I have to admit that that is a relatively news story that
You haven't looked into.
I have not. It's like,
Well, I hadn't really. I just knew they were in blackouts, and I'm like, is that because
I've been reading about
this?
Iran, and then all of a sudden, wants to take over Cuba. I'm like, what? What's that? What's that got to do with anything?
He just started talking about it yesterday. He's like, I can do whatever I
I
want.
mean, Canada and Greenland.
Grab him by the pussy. Okay.
You know, when we talk about inflation,
Yeah.
when you go back to like COVID, so the whole COVID pandemic, we had a collapse in demand for everything.
Mm.
So that it slowed down the demand for oil.
Mm.
So they kept producing oil. So then there was all their storage filled up. So now we had way too much oil produced, way too much oil in storage, and the demand went way down. The price of oil collapsed. It went way down.
Did gas prices ever go way down because of that? I don't
Well,
feel like they did.
I'm not sure about it during COVID, but then once COVID was over, as you know, the demand spiked back up right after COVID. And so the demand came back faster than oil production could keep up with it. That's why the oil prices spiked. And when oil prices spiked, as you know, inflation goes up. That's why inflation spiked right after COVID. And, you know, what president has control over that? I mean, really, think about it. And whatever president's in office, a Democrat or a Republican, those are forces that are just beyond their control, you know?
No, not totally. Not totally beyond control. Don't fool yourself. It's all politics.
When you talk about world supply and demand of oil and everything, it's tough to control that. And these things move slowly. It's like turning a big ship. It doesn't turn on a dime.
Sure. Does it not? I don't know.
No.
I've been on some of those ships. They're like, it's amazing. Amazing what they... No, I see what you're saying. All right, well, that's all I got, I think.
Well, we could say one last thing in that this whole oil thing kind of makes the case for shifting toward more renewable energy.
Oh, yeah, that is true. They said, yeah.
Renewable clean energy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, you know, solar, wind.
Well, and electric cars.
Electric cars. Yeah.
I mean, more than anything. Like, I know more, I think, I don't know this, from listening to podcasts, it seems that people out in California are driving far more electric cars than like here in the Midwest, or certainly in the Detroit area. But, and that's because their gas prices are high.
Right.
So I guess if gas prices go up, it might encourage more people to buy hybrid or electric vehicles. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
Then electricity prices go up.
Right. Yeah, they'll go up too. That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
renewable energy.
I think there's no easy fix for this current situation we're in. And whatever the fix is not going to be a quick fix.
Well, I think if the war ended today and the Strait opened up and everybody was happy, it would probably go back to normal fairly quickly. I just don't know if Iran is going to be willing to just let it go back. Even if we said, okay, we're done, we're out, I don't know if they're going to be as accommodating.
I don't think so either. I mean, just because the U.S. says, boom, war's done, we won, it's over. Iran's like, no, it's not. We're not done. Because you've just...
And we blew up some of the oil supplies.
You basically destroyed our entire Navy and...
Well, the only way is
most of our...
If their government actually changes to something that's more friendly towards, I don't know, towards the U.S., then maybe. I guess. We're just spitballing here, guys. We don't know anything about global politics.
No,
but if their government were to actually make a big switch to a U.S.-friendly government...
That doesn't look like it's going to happen, at least not anytime soon.
It depends on who you're listening to.
I mean, how's it going to happen?
Well, some people say that the Ayatollah Khomeini, the new one, isn't alive. Now they have a president there. You'd have to change all that. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to happen.
Let's say he's not alive.
Okay.
Can't they just
Elect somebody else.
yeah, put a new one in?
Well, the hope is by President Trump is that the people who are friendly to him will take over. But I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know.
Well, this whole thing about the world being so reliant upon fossil fuels and oil.
Yeah.
This is a good example of
Yes.
why the world needs to diversify
That's right. You're right.
their energy sources.
Yeah, you're right.
You know?
I mean, you could still use that, but then also use
I think you will.
hydro, water.
Wind.
You've got wind. You've got sun.
I think the world's going to need oil, at least in some form, for a long, long time. But we can reduce the amount of oil that we need and use.
But you know what's interesting? All of a sudden, this is taking me to another video we made about predicting the future. Like right now, we can sit here and say, we have these other things, but we're going to need a lot more than that. Well, there are things we haven't even thought of yet that somebody's thinking of. Like, I heard about this plant in West Virginia, and they are using iron ore. They rust it, and then that rust creates energy, and they use that energy to make batteries. Like, what?
Yeah.
So, like, there are things,
I've
what
heard
I'm
that.
saying is there are things we haven't thought of. You and I haven't thought of. Scientists are probably thinking of it and working on it. So sometime, some energy source might come out that is so much better. Well, nuclear also is a very good energy source, by the way. And we're going to need it to power all these AI data centers.
I've always wondered about nuclear energy, and I know that I think why a lot of people are against nuclear energy, I guess, is for the
Dangers.
the possible danger
Meltdowns, yeah.
and environmental problems with it.
Yes.
But
And the waste. You have to do something with the waste from it, I guess. I don't really know. But I say it's clean. I don't know.
I mean, if you can, well, because it doesn't pollute the
To do a
environment.
separate video on that because I don't know.
I
But
mean,
yeah.
nuclear energy is.
Yeah. It's a great source of energy. And if you start doing more and more electric cars and electric data centers, we're going to need more electricity.
Not to get sidetracked here.
Sure.
But,
we never do that.
Talking about this whole war thing, and they're talking about we've got the U.S. Navy has they have nuclear-powered submarines, and they've got
Yes.
at least one nuclear-powered aircraft carrier.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, it's interesting. These ships are powered by nuclear power.
Yeah.
They've got a small nuclear reactor in this thing.
It's crazy.
Basically, I looked it up, and basically what it does is it heats up water so hot, and it creates steam that turns these steam turbines like super fast and creates electricity.
What happens if that ship gets blowed up? Is it a nuclear bomb waiting to happen or no? I guess not. Too small.
Not a bomb.
But you know what I'm saying?
You'd have some sort of a
reaction,
nuclear meltdown of some.
That's
I don't know.
That's
I don't
crazy.
know. But those ships, those nuclear-powered submarines and aircraft carriers, their range is like unlimited.
Wow.
They can sail around the world for months and months. Well, for years.
Do you know how
without
much
having to
stuff
stop and refuel.
is going on that we don't even know about? Like how much military stuff is going on that like people like you and I don't even know about. So much stuff.
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, there's submarines all off the coasts of our waterways from other countries. Just keeping an eye on things.
Right. I mentioned to you just, I think maybe it was yesterday, about the, over there in the Strait, the, what's the,
What are you talking about?
the Strait that's,
Hormuz?
right, the Persian Gulf.
Oh, Persian
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I think the U.S. Navy, if I read this correctly, I could be wrong on this, but the U.S. Navy's got like 2 destroyers up there in the Persian Gulf.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, they're kind of stuck up there
Oh, yeah.
because they can't get through the strait unless they get attacked. But
We should look those up. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, those ships can be resupplied and last a long time without,
We kind of glossed over, I guess, that part about if we take these sanctions off Russia or whatever they are and start paying for their oil, it gives them more money to use for the war with Ukraine. But
Right.
also, am I wrong? Don't they supply Iran too with weapons, or no?
Who, Russia?
Yeah,
Oh man, you're asking me questions.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, and Cuba, they
I do try.
it's kind of it's
I
a
do.
lot. It's so much.
I do try to read up on this stuff,
Yeah,
and
I
I
know.
try to keep up. But there's so much to keep up on, and it's hard to keep it all straight.
And then those ads pop up while you're trying to read an article. Oh my God. If anybody has a,
And then you wonder.
what is it, New York Times?
And
Send
then you're
me your
wondering.
password.
You're wondering if how much the information you're getting is accurate.
Well, and not just because of like fake news, which I'm so sick of. Like, oh my God, stop with the fake news. Like, there are a lot of journalists who are working really hard to get you information. I'm not saying there isn't fake news out there, but a lot of it's people who are working super hard. So, but a lot of the news is coming from Iran's government or the U.S. government that could be incorrect when it goes to the news agency.
Well, you've got.
You know what I'm saying? You're reporting on information. Oops,
You
anyway,
have-
that was just this.
You have misinformation and you have disinformation,
Right, that's it. Intentional misinformation
which is
sometimes.
disinformation. Intentionally giving out false.
Kind of propaganda almost. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And then misinformation is just wrong.
I mean, like what we were saying, do we know that there are mines in there? Because Iran's who's saying that. I don't know. Do we know that this new Ayatollah is dead or injured or whatever? What did they call him? Disfigured? And what? I don't know. Like, we just don't know these things, I don't think.
I don't know. And at this point, if you're listening to this in the future, we just don't know at this point.
Because right now it's March. I don't know the date.
I think it's the
Mid-March.
I think it's the 18th.
Oh, it's the day after St. Patty's Day.
Yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. Today's
Do you know
the
what
18th.
Greg and I did for St. Patty's Day? Nothing. Nothing.
Didn't even have any green beer.
We did not.
No corned beef and
No corned beef and
Cabbage.
cabbage. And I do sometimes make corned beef and cabbage.
yeah.
Anyway, all right, guys. I think we've solved this.
Oh boy, we did not solve anything.
All right, let us know what you guys think. But be kind in the comments. We know we're not experts. We're just conversationally talking about this. We know. We've probably got a lot of stuff wrong.
I think anybody who has listened this far
Knows we're not experts.
is probably friendly fire.
Friendly fire.
The people who listen in the first 5 minutes, no, the first 3 minutes that's unfriendly fire.
Well, or people who just see the title and then spout off. I can tell a lot of times people haven't even watched it.
Yeah, they
yet,
haven't,
but I'm
yeah,
like, but you have a lot to say about me.
We're not definitely experts on this, but I don't know how the average person can be.
No.
Because the news is changing so fast and
West Hackberry and Bayou. Down on the Bayou. Choctaw. What's that song about the Choctaw?
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember.
You don't want to sing it because it might seem.
Just so, and it's an interesting thing. We have driven from one side of this country to another
Yes.
more than once.
Oh yeah, we've gone the south way. We've gone the
I've
middle
gone
way. We've gone
everywhere,
the
man.
north way.
Yeah.
One time with my parents, we left Detroit. Gosh, my dad was laid off because he worked for the auto industry. I think we may have gone up to Maine and then come down to Key West.
Might be out of view there. I don't know.
Well, that's the way it is. And then somehow gone across, went to the Grand Canyon, and then we went up the California coast, and then we went up into Canada and came back down through the Upper Peninsula, where we went on a boat ride. And by then, my sister and I were so irritable. We were the worst people in the world. And then we came back down. And that took like 2 weeks, which means you're driving like 500 miles every single day.
You and I drove one time.
Crazy.
We've done many road trips, but we drove from Arizona all the way over to Myrtle Beach and back. True. And we took 2 different routes.
Yeah, we did.
Going there,
we went through Memphis on the way there to go to Graceland. We're going to Graceland.
And then on the way back, we went the southern route.
This way. Oh yeah, we came.
And I got pulled over for speeding in Alabama.
Oh my God.
And the officer would maybe get out of the car and go sit in his car.
Honestly, it scared the crap out of me. I had never seen that before where an officer, and he goes, "Come on, you're coming with me." And Greg went and got in his car, and I'm sitting there going, what if he kills him? Oh my God. Like, I was scared to death. Well, because there was a time when there were people who were pretending to be police officers and they were killing people, and I was scared of that. Gosh. That was terrible. I don't remember. Oh, did we go to New Orleans? No, we didn't.
No, I don't remember if I was actually like speeding or if it was that situation where the
construction. No.
Oh, you know what I think it was? Maybe it might have been this one time where there was a construction zone and you had to slow down quite a bit. And they had these police officers out there, and if you didn't slow down right away, they were pulling people over left and right.
No, I don't think that was that one, though. I do remember that. And that was like a $200 ticket, which was back in the 90s. That was a lot of money.
Well, was I sitting in the police car that time?
No, because this time you were just speeding. It was like a 55.
Because I heard the officers talking about, we got another one. Yeah. It was like they just were out getting. Just so everybody knows, I've only been pulled over for speeding like twice in my entire life that I've been driving for 45 years.
I've been pulled over way more than you.
45 years.
But I drive a lot more than you too. I usually drive. I haven't gotten pulled over since the last time I got pulled over. I was driving through, oh my God, near Virginia Tech. What's it called? Wytheville. Where is that? Where's Wytheville?
No.
Yeah.
It's near a Virginia border.
Here's Blacksburg. It's near Virginia Tech. Here it is right here. Okay.
Oh, it's in, yeah.
Wytheville is a speed trap. FYI. If you're ever driving near here, go the speed limit. But I was going the speed limit, but then there was, I'm on the road. There's a rest area right here. And so I'm driving, and there were big trucks like on all sides of me. So I kind of sped up just for a second so I could get past the truck and be able to get to the rest area. And this policeman pulled me over, and literally I knew it was a speed trap because my parents had told me. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I get pulled over. On the ticket, it says how much you pay. So I paid that. And then I got a letter in the mail saying I owed like $300 because on the back of the ticket were court costs or something. You had to pay, but it wasn't very clear. It was such a scam. I ended up owing like so much money for that stupid ticket. So I sent my cruise control on like maybe 4 over, maybe sometimes 8 over. Because my cousin says 8 is great. You can go 8 over and not get pulled over. I don't know.
Well, our car has the adaptive cruise control, which Toyota refers to as dynamic cruise control. And you do most of the driving, but that is an awesome feature.
Yeah, it's
does so many things. But one thing,
because if this car slows down in front of you, your car slows down. Then if it speeds up, it speeds. So it just
another thing that it does is it prevents you from speeding. Because if you're not using it, you tend to kind of drive a little faster and a little faster. Next thing you know, you're going 90 miles an hour and you don't realize it.
Because the cars nowadays are so smooth. You don't even know.
Right.
Going 100 miles an hour, it feels like nothing.
So by setting the cruise control, it prevents you from creeping up in your speed.
For sure.
That's another good thing about it, besides keeping the distance to the...
Yeah, it keeps me in check. Because literally, if I don't have it on, Greg will look over and go, you know the speed limit's 65. I'm going like 110. Whoops.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're bringing this back to gasoline because the slower you drive, the better gas mileage you get.
That
More
is
consistent.
True. That is true.
I think if you go like 55 and you have your cruise control on, so it's super consistent, you're not pressing the gas and whatever, you get better gas mileage.
Well, these I mentioned in other videos that when I was younger, I used to play in a band, and we drove across country playing a little U.S. tour and played a bunch of little small clubs and stuff. But anyways, I was driving the van. It was my turn to drive, and we were out here in Nevada, and we were on empty, and we were miles and miles from a gas station. It was a huge mistake. And it was late at night, and we're like, oh no, we're going to run out of gas. And so there was nobody on the highway.
Yeah.
And so I slowed down to like 30 miles an hour down the highway.
Yeah.
And we were just crawling because we knew that we'd burn less gas and we could go further.
And this was a big old van, like old school.
Yeah, an old school van, right? But we all agreed that it's going to take us longer to get to the gas station because we're going so slow.
Yeah.
But we're going to be able to go farther. And
it worked.
we made it.
You can always make it to total.
We made it eventually.
You know what? We should do a video one time where we just show where your tour went and talk about all the adventures along the way. That'd be fun. Because you've got some stories. I could pull out of you.
Yeah.
I've heard some stories.
Probably,
Band stories. All right. Good times.
Good times.
Do you have anything else?
We have not solved the world's oil problem.
No, but all we can do is try. All right, guys. Usually I tell them, like, here's what you can do about this problem. I don't have the answer. I guess you could write to what I always say is the same thing. Write to your Congress people. Write to the members of the government. Tell them what you think should happen.
You
That's
know,
the best you can do, brother.
maybe we already talked about this.
Yeah.
But one of the effects of high oil prices and high gas prices is a thing called demand destruction.
Yeah.
I don't think I mentioned that. And it's where high prices lead to lower demand. So it's basically a behavioral change that people make.
Right, sure. You stop taking road trips.
People cancel road trips. Airline tickets are more. They
Right.
might cancel a trip.
Yeah.
People stop traveling more because prices are so high. And so it's actually called demand destruction. So that leads, higher prices lead to less demand,
Right.
which will then, what can lead to, ultimately a recession.
Yeah.
It's just sort of the snowball effect of these things.
Interesting. I feel like that kind of happened during COVID too. When prices went up, everybody kind of canceled. I don't know. I don't remember. I remember something like that. Anyway, whatever. All right. Talk to you guys later.